Okay. As I said before, I'm president of FOLQ for about 15 more minutes. But I just wanted to welcome all of you for coming tonight. This is a wonderful turnout. I also want to thank all of the board members who have made this such a wonderful year. And all the board members just stand so everyone can see who they are. Board members, Lee, stand. And give them I also want to acknowledge one of our board members who is leaving us this year to become an associate board member, Bill Butler. He's been with us for many years. He's going to still be an associate member, but he has been responsible for many years for counting the geese around the lake. So I think he'll probably want to keep doing that, quite frankly. We've had a busy year. We did the Festival by the Lake last year. We're doing it again next week. We do water testing. We have some of the water testing people here, David Miller and Carol Dennison. Board member, thank you. They've kept up our long-standing water testing program. Watershed field trips, Carol did those again. Thank you, Carol. We did the Run for All Ages last fall. We helped them out. Unfortunately, the Run for All Ages has decided not to do their road race again in November, so we won't be doing that again this year. We do our breakfast in the fall. We participate at the Wakefield 101, the event for new people in town to get acquainted with all the different organizations in town. Bricks by the Lake, Carin Failer, I don't know how many years she's been doing that, and they just installed the new ones, right, last weekend? 55? Thank you. And finally, our landscaping team, who have done a wonderful job at the head of the lake in doing the plantings up there, which they're going to continue on, and improving that area, getting rid of invasive species. So it's been a good year, and we hope we'll probably keep it up. And I commend the people that I work with on this board because they all do a lot of work. So with that, I would like to introduce two speakers. We have Representative Wong. Would you like to come up and make some words? Make some comments.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here, and I can't say that there's a great group here, and I thank you for everything you do for the lake. Last year, I asked Steve Mayo, the administrator of Wakefield, what he needed in Wakefield so I could put on my earmarks. And he said, we need money for the bandstand. So I put an earmark for $100,000. It passed the House, it passed the Senate, but then when it got to the governor, she did a 9C cut and cut it down to $65,000. So I still went back to Mayo and he said, we can work with it. And I said, if you need anything else, more money, we can try to look at other resources. But they already started. Almost done. Almost done. And because the bandstand, everyone uses, especially a lot of the nonprofit. And we don't want anyone to get hurt on the bandstand, the gates or anything like that. So I give a lot of credit for the administrator, Steve Bale, because if he didn't suggest it, it wouldn't be done. But it's not just myself. It's working with the House and the Senate. And because if they don't vote with me, we wouldn't have got it. But I thank you for everything you do on the lakes. And, you know, people come from all around just to see the lake. You see them walking, and I can't thank the group enough here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Long, and thank you for getting the money for the bandstand. That was wonderful. We now want to have remarks from Council Chair Mike McLean.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Won't keep you long. I know we have a great presentation coming tonight. I'd just like to acknowledge everything that you folks do. It's already been said, the water testing, the work with the students, the work throughout town. I mean, anybody wants to come in here and do anything. They don't talk to us, Steve, right? They talk to the FOLQ first.
And rightly so.
And rightly so. Right. And we've got a really good group of people in here, a really good group of activists, and I mean that in the positive sense of the word. And I just want to recognize we do have a couple other town councilors that I see tonight. Councilor Maureen Butt over there, and Jonathan Shines, I believe I've seen as well. Hello, Jonathan. And our newest Conservation Commission member, Eleanor Axelrod, is over here at my table. Hello, Eleanor. And yeah, just wanted to thank you all for everything that you're doing in town.
Town administrator.
And Town Administrator Steve Mayo. Well, we all know he's there. He already got accolades. He doesn't need any more.
Never hurts.
Right. Yeah, they call him More Money Mayo.
That's what the delegation.
That's what the delegation
That's
calls
okay.
him, and he takes great pride in that because, yeah, grant money is a good thing. All right, well, I'll let you get back to your program. But please, reach out this year. There's a lot going on in town, you know. We're going to be dealing with 40A, 40B, master plans. I won't drone on, but please stay in touch with all of us. Let us know your opinions on what's going on in town, because I know a lot of the people I see here are the people that I'm also going to see at town meeting, and we've got a lot going on this year. So please stay in touch with all of us and let us know, you know, and attend our meetings. If you don't attend our actual town council meetings, we'll be reaching out with groups on going back to 40A and starting over the MBTA communities process. So please stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. And now for our business meeting, which is very brief, I assure you. First thing is we have to certify that we have a quorum, and Bill Conley is over there raising his hand, saying we have a quorum, so we called the business meeting to order. At what time is it right now?
7:11.
7:11, okay. All right. Approval of the 2023 minutes. Can I have a
So
motion? Who was that? I didn't hear. Oh, Bill Boudry moved and Rob Weddick seconded. And this is for the members of FOLQ to vote. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those, anyone opposed? Any discussion? Any abstentions? All right, we'll call the vote now, and it is, all those in favor, say aye again. Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you all so much for that. The financial report, which is done by our treasurer, Doug Mildred, is available by requesting it at mail@folq.org. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And now we come to the part where we're gonna vote the current serving board of directors members. And these are 3 members whose terms are up this year. We elected members on a staggered basis for 3-year terms. Carol Dennison, Bree Reynolds, Rob Weddick to 3-year terms. Can I have a motion?
moved.
But Bill Boudry moved.
Second.
Lee Island given second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? It is unanimous. Thank you. We now going to vote the executive board, and the nominees for that are Bill Conley for president, Bree Reynolds for vice president, Doug Mildred for treasurer, and Margaret Copey for secretary.
So moved.
And Bill Boudry moved, and Rob Weddick seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? It is unanimous. Thank you so much. So with that, now we want to get to our program for the evening, and for that introduction, we will have our new president, Bill Conley, is going to introduce the program.
Bill, speak.
Thank you, Margaret. Yeah, I've been up here before, seemingly not that long ago, but I'm especially pleased to be up here tonight because we got a great presentation. I think you're going to really be moved by what you see. The presentations complement each other. We are going to start off with Carin Macnamara. Carin's there with her husband and daughter, and she is Wakefield resident, we all know that, right? We've seen her work in the item quite a bit, photographing the wildlife. She's currently creative director at Advanced Imaging in Wilmington and a professional wildlife photographer and naturalist. Carin will discuss the changing nature of our local wildlife populations, including her story of two bald eagles she has followed for 8 years in Wakefield. You're going to really enjoy this show. It's movie. Her photograph has been over the bar, and now she's going to speak and show photographs and talk. So, Carin, could you come up, please? Thank you.
It is so lovely to be here. Tonight, I will share photos of the amazing wildlife in the surrounding areas and in Wakefield. And tracking wildlife is a labor of love for me. It entails many travels in the early dawn or late dusk. In the cold months, there are hours spent with frozen fingers and toes, and when the weather warms, there are muddy feet, and the ritual begins of covering sweaty skin with bug spray to avoid the dreaded tick. This is all in pursuing that beautiful divisive moment when you capture the pure magic of wildlife. My family and I have lived on the shores of Lake Quannapowitt for over 30 years. Back then, I documented one bald eagle, but as the years passed, the eagle population increased, and I found myself tracking several pair-bonded couples. Recently, eagles have used our lakes as a migration pathway, especially in the winter months. I have had the thrill and joy of capturing them in photographs. The images you will see are equal parts tender and harsh. Wildlife is genuinely about the survival of the fittest. With that in mind, I'm thankful we have all finished our dinners and have had a few libations, as some of these images may make you squirm. I have experienced great joy in taking these photographs, but also witnessed great horrors. Poisons, especially rodenticide, which causes excruciating internal bleeding, and monofilament and debris from hooks we leave behind that entangle and break bones and cut tendons, both cause significant devastation to our wildlife. We have to be good and faithful stewards and protect all wildlife. By doing so, we also protect ourselves. We need to do better, and I'm confident we will. And now we'll share the success story about a little eagle, and it's entitled, The Eagle That Almost Wasn't. Glasses back on. Okay, so this is Lake Q, and eagles hunt at dusk and dawn, and this is pictured at dusk, and it was just such a beautiful picture, and it was right outside our window. When I photograph, I am extremely ethical, and I believe that if you get too close to an animal, which is going to disturb their behavior, you're too close. I like to be invisible. So I use an 800 millimeter lens with a 2x converter so I can get effective closeness of 1,600 feet. Now, eagles separate, and then in the winter months they come together, and they haven't seen each other. The pair-bonded couple haven't seen each other for, how do we do this? For several months. These are two pair-bonded eagles that I followed for 8 years. They found each other, and this is kind of X-rated, but that's okay. And it's unusual too because the female has taken the dominant role. Honey, don't get any ideas. Now this is the male, very happy. There they go. So, eagles are both tender and wild, and after mating they usually just stay together. The female, hopefully it's been successful, and she will lay eggs. But they're talking to each other now. The male's very happy, he's on the top. Male eagles are most always the larger eagle by 15%, the smaller eagle by 15%. The female is underneath on the branches. That is the female eagle after she made a kill. They're just amazing creatures. They're also monogamous, so they stay together unless one of the eagles dies. Now remember, these eagles are in the Wakefield area. The female lays eggs, and she incubates them, and she lays 1 to 3 eggs, and usually after fertilization, 35 days after that, the eaglets start hatching. There's a baby eaglet. This is a nest that I had saved actually about 6 or 7 months ago in the dead of winter. I saw construction and I saw the eagle's nest. Now, not many people knew it was there, and I stopped the cutting of the trees. So this was such a blessing because of that, the little eagle. Do you see it? The little head? Now, in week 3, they start growing very rapidly, and they're stretching, and they're looking for more food, and they start losing their gray natal down, and they get a gray insulated down. And again, the feeding goes on and on. And then nestling stays, we call them nestling at this stage, next to the female's brood patch. A brood patch is a patch of feathers that the female takes out of her breast to have skin contact, and it warms the eaglet. The male also does this too. The female is about a 70% ratio for taking care of the eaglet, and the male's 30. But they also hunt continually. Again, this is week 3. You can see now the natal down's almost gone, and you see the little quills on the wings. The little eaglet instinctively flaps its wings because it knows one day it's going to be flying, and also it has to exercise the muscles. This is week 4, and their appetite is voracious. They just don't stop eating. And there you go. Now this is week 4 or 5. The natal down is almost gone. It's starting to get other feathers, and they're popping out all over. And more feeding. And basically, little eaglet's jobs are to eat, sleep, and poop. And there you go. And there's a flapping. And there's more hungry. They look like little dinosaurs. And this photograph, which is right behind me, has probably been the most important photograph I took last year. It is of the male flying into the nest, the female greeting him, and the little eaglet on the corner. It's won the Rockport Art, which I'm a juried member in, of Photography of Excellence, and also the Essex National Heritage Photo Contest. I won first place in this too. So yeah, it was, thank you. But it's not just the photograph, it is the importance of saving this little eaglet. Now, this eaglet's getting really funky looking, and it's just a bad hair day. Now it's really flapping its wings, and if you look closely, you can see the wings extended and the quills extended, and they're growing in, and the feathers are popping out of the quills. There you go. Eating some more, waiting 5 and 6 weeks, and they stay in the nest at the safety of the nest. There are a few occasions where they fall out. Hopefully they don't. Now, eaglets are pretty smart, and they watch their parents. Now, just picture staying in one spot. Now, granted, the nest is about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. It's really big. But they have to poop someplace after eating that much. And they have been trained, usually, to go outside the nest. There you go. And sometimes an unwary photographer gets pooped on. And I tell you, firsthand experience, it was plentiful, warm, and it smelled like fish. In the meanwhile, the parents keep bringing other materials to line the bottom of the nest because, again, there's foodstuffs in there and poop. There's the female coming into the nest, baby happy, flapping its wings, getting fed some more. The female is actually resting, and I think this is a video. There you go. At this stage, at 5 or 6 weeks, both parents have a full-time job hunting continuously. So the female is in the nest and the male is flying in. There you go. Actually, yeah, the female flies in. There's no sound on this. eating.
Where did you say this nest is? Where's it located?
I can't say. But Audubon knows, and it's not, it's right off of, it's about 1.5 miles from our lake. Close enough, though.
Near Newhall?
Can't, you're really fishing for stuff here. No, I can't say.
I see a lot of eagles in Newhall, that's why I asked.
But there are, yes, there are a lot of eagles at Newhall, and all over. I mean, I'm telling you, they're flying pretty well. But again, with the rodenticide, which I call is the new DDT, which was banned in 1972, I believe, there's just decline. And I've seen eagles die at my feet, and other raptors too. But this is supposed to be a happy story right now. All right, there's the male and female, and the baby's there, but you can't see it. There's the baby. This is week 6 and 7. Now the feathers are really coming out, and little eaglets have like an overwhelming desire to be preening and cleaning and pulling out the old down and cleaning the quills so the new feathers can come out. There's more, forever hungry, going to hunt. The male eagle and the female eagle usually hunt at dawn and dusk. So this is the dad flying out into the dawn light to hunt. They hunt fish. They actually hunt small mammals. This is a squirrel. This is a merganser. And look at how big that merganser is as opposed to the eagle. This is a female eagle. That's pretty amazing that they can actually lift that. Because a male eagle is probably about 15, well, maybe 12 to 15 pounds at tops. Maybe it's 12. But the female is like 16 sometimes, 17. This is the female eagle after a hunt. She caught a juvenile seagull. And this was on New Year's Day. So it was a good gift for her and her family. A lot of times, there's another eagle that come into the territory. Eagles are very territorial, especially if they have an active nest. This is the male in the foreground facing away from us, fighting a subadult, we'll call them now, which was about a 4-year-old female eagle that tried to intrude into the nest. This is the babies, which are now called juveniles, copy and mimic everything that the mother and father do. Week 6 and 7, of course, they're hungry again. They're always eating, 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 eating. Week 8, now the little eaglet's coming into its own, and it's really, the wing development is pretty amazing. It's hard to believe that 8 weeks ago, this was a little fuzzball. I'm starting to look like an eagle, preening again. Week 10, the flight feathers are almost filled in. What they do is called nest jumping and branching. Nest jumping is when they're jumping higher and higher above the safety of the nest. Now remember, this nest is the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, so that's pretty darn big. And that eaglet's pretty darn big too. Week 11, they're doing full branching. They're getting braver and braver, and what they're doing is they're going further and further from the nest. With this photograph, you can only see the corner of the nest in the lower right. And they're getting more and more confident now. Hopefully this one works. This is a culmination of week 11 and 12. Back into the nest. But that wasn't good enough because week 12, which is coming up, they're going to fly further and further. Typically, a juvenile eagle will fledge fully at week 12 or 13. And this is when a lot of the injuries happen because sometimes they fall. But that's okay because they can usually get back up branch by branch. And eagles are pretty smart, and their parents make the nesting tree with a lot of branches. So that's that. And then finally, the end of week 12, I don't know if you can see it, but there you are, away from the nest. And then the biggest delight happened. I was 1,600 feet away, hidden behind trees, covered with bug spray because it was really hot, and the eaglet flew 10 feet from me. I could not even believe it. And she sat there, and I believe it's a female, because you can usually tell by the size. The beak is deeper than a male's. The hallux, which is the back talon, is longer. The breast is wider, so she can actually incubate eggs better. So I was shocked, and I took 2 pictures and pieced them together because I could not get her entirely in my frame. So this was like her saying, thank you. And then there she is, week 13, and she's flying and she's trying to hunt, mostly unsuccessfully, but the parents usually, well, they do, they feed the babies for another month and a half to 2 months. And then the eaglet, which is now a juvenile, takes off and flies to who knows where, try to find their own territory. It's typical, though, that they circle around the next year and visit their nest and say hello to their parents who don't want to have anything to do with them. That won't be the case when you come back from college, Abigail. Now, I think the biggest takeaway here is if you see something with an eagle or any raptor or any wildlife and you see it being tampered with, you should call Fish and Wildlife, you should call Mass Wildlife, you should call Audubon, and they will step in. And that's what happened when I saved this nest that cold winter day. And there is actually a law, the Bald and Gold Eagle Protection Act, and there's a $200,000 fine if you tamper with an eagle, if you take their feather, if you stop them from nesting. So it's pretty serious. And that is that for the eagle that almost wasn't. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carin. Thank you very much. Spectacular photography. I think we'll all agree. It sensitizes us to animals, certainly, and our lake environment is loaded with animals. If you look really, really closely, you'll see them, and she does a great job of finding them wherever they are, photographing them, and educating us. So we're very happy to have you here tonight speaking. We are very happy here tonight to have 2 people from the Friends of Hon Pond. Hon Pond, or is it Horn Pond? I don't know which. But Jim Joyce and Jean Bowen. They both are co-founders of the Friends of Horn Pond, and they formed that group to specifically deal with fish line and hooks and sinkers and entanglements. And you're going to see some entanglements. They've done a great job. They've briefed us on how to make it happen. So Town Gov, I think you're going to see something from us that we can maybe get involved and discuss and maybe use that model over in Woburn. It's a great model. They've reduced things, and I don't want to take Jim's, I think Jim primarily is going to speak. I don't want to take his presentation, but the important work that they're doing, very, very successful in Woburn. We're going to learn from it tonight, and we'll have a great takeaway. So without further ado, Jim Joyce from Horn Pond. Come on up, Jim.
Greatly appreciate the opportunity to address your annual meeting tonight, and to talk about a program that we implemented in Woburn back in 2022, at the tail end of 2022. And I'll get into, how we did it and the collaboration that was involved. But it's been successful, as Bill said, and we'll talk a little bit about it. I just want to add one thing as we go, though, on the owl. So the great horned owl that was in the tree down on Lake Q on New Year's Day, it was an interesting one because I got a call that morning from Erin Hutchings, who's the federally permitted rehabber from Cape Ann Wildlife, and she told me about this great horned owl that was in the tree over there, and then Carin called me up and told me the same thing, and I didn't know the Wakefield Fire Department was coming down, but I threw a big extension ladder in the back of my car and drove down here. I was going to go up the tree and get that guy. But the Wakefield Fire Department did an excellent job, and we got that owl got up to Cape Ann Wildlife and had some wing injuries, but we were able to at least get it out of the tree. So good story on that. So our mission, just real quick on the Friends of Horn Pond, so it's really founded on these four pillars. Between community awareness, we have a strong conservation efforts. We're looking at the safety and the ecosystem over it, not only at Horn Pond, but also the other conservation areas in Woburn. And I just want to add that I am a commission member on the Woburn Conservation Commission as well. So, and I know congratulations on your being in whoever the new member of the Conservation Commission, congratulations. And really, the big part of it is really community collaboration, because without the community and without the collaborative effort across the community, and that includes the city government, the DPW, everybody, we would not have had a successful program. So our vision, you can see we broke this down. So we're talking tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about right here, which is our anglers, birders, photographers. These are all the folks who actually identify monofilament fishing line that's in trees and bushes and any kind of animals that are entangled or hooked. And this is our program right here for monofilament. And really we're looking at reducing injuries, and we're trying to reduce littering and pollution. Lead poisoning is a big one, especially for eagles and other types of birds of prey. But it's really the pollution part of this. And if you think about monofilament, think about this. It lasts in the environment for 600 years. So every piece of this of monofilament line that's out there is today is going to be there 50 years from now, 100 years from now, and it doesn't break down for 600 years. So here's our team, the Reel and Recycle program, our team. So our team was made up of our Friends of Horn Pond founders. It's my wife, Patty Sears Joyce, she's an angler. Our co-founder, Jeannie Bowen, myself, I'm an angler as well. And our two board members, Brian Poore is an angler, Lisa Lavagna, and then we have some people on our Woburn City Council who actually, they really drove this program. And Lou DeMambro, who's a Ward 6 City Councilor, actually built our monofilament bins. So between the city councilors, the Board of Health, the DPW, and our whole team, we were able to put this program into place. But that's the type of effort that it took, or the type of involvement of folks that it took. Okay, so the journey begins. So where did our journey actually begin? Well, after about 3 or 4 years of watching these types of events occur, bald eagle with a lure in its beak, thankfully it was able to spit that lure out without any type of injury to it, but you can see what can happen. But these guys definitely get entangled. This is all out of Horn Pond. Same thing with a swan. And here's myself and another one of our other guys, Roberto D'Souza, picking up fishing line. You can see all these bobbers in a tree. We call it the bobber Christmas tree because that's what it looks like. And it's one of the really popular fishing spots, but you can see what happens. Errant throws, you get bobbers and hooks and lures up in trees. People can't get it down, and birds will fly into it. And then along the shoreline, it's the same problem. And then my friend Jeannie and I, just on a little bit of a cleanup over there, and same thing, kind of going through debris and picking out fishing line that, anything can get entangled in. So, after listening to folks talking about this and getting a firsthand look for about 3 or 4 years without any real action that was going on, because a lot of people like to talk and a lot of people have great ideas, but unless you can get people who really want to drive some action and really get the right people involved, then nothing really seems to happen. And so after about 3 or 4 years, that's when Jeannie and Patty and I decided, well, enough is enough. We're going to form the Friends of Horn Pond, and we're going to go after the monofilament problem at Horn Pond. We first pitched this to the Conservation Commission, and Jeannie and I took it with a group from the Woburn Memorial High School, the Intrepid Keystone Club. We took it to the Conservation Commission because we had this idea that if we could put up monofilament bins in some of the hot fishing spots along the pond, that we might be able to ward off some of the entanglements that we see and get rid of some of the monofilament that's around. So we pitched this plan to the Conservation Commission. They liked the plan, but it was recycling, so they threw us to the DPW because the DPW has got recycling. Okay, so as I said, it's a journey. So after talking with the DPW and then the Board of Health, and then going to a Parks and Recreation Committee meeting where it all broke loose, that's where I got the city council involved. And Jeff Dillon, who's a Ward 6 city councilor, he's now a city council president, he stood up in that meeting when I was talking about this program, and someone had mentioned about restricting fishing on Horn Pond. And Jeff's an old angler, and he said, absolutely no way. We're not having an ordinance that's going to do that. We're going to find another way to reduce monofilament. We're going to do education, and we're going to get folks involved that can really drive this forward, which is exactly what we did. And from there, it all broke loose. So we started down a path of education, community awareness, community outreach. We got with a half a dozen anglers to fish Horn Pond. And this is a map of the pond. And you can see every place, every red marker that we have right here is where we put a bin. And we didn't just dream up these locations. We did a lot of talk with a lot of folks to determine where are the hot spots, where would we most likely benefit from having one of these monofilament bins, and how about we monitor it? How about we pilot it and see what we come up with? What if we look at it after a month or 6 months or 3 or a year and see what we actually come up with? And so between the anglers, our group, Mass Wildlife, because we got the education coordinator, angler education coordinator for Mass Wildlife, Jim Lagacy, we got him involved, and we set this program up in those locations. And I will say this, that with every location that we put a bin, we also had a complimentary trash container that was receptacle that was there too. So we didn't add trash receptacles. We simply utilized the ones that were in place, and if we had to move them a little closer to where the bin location was, we did that. So it didn't put any undue stress on the DPW. They were maintaining them anyway. And our group, including the city councilors, actually monitor these bins, and we clean them out on a monthly basis. So you can see the GPS coordinates that we use. These are all actual precise locations. We created a map with this with city engineering, and we put all these on the map. And so in the beginning of 2023, we actually put the last one in the end of December. So at the beginning of 2023, we started this program. So this is one of our community outreach flyers. We put this into every kiosk down at in every conservation area in Woburn, including the ones at Horn Pond. And you can see the bald eagle up in the corner. I don't think this is the one that Carin was talking about, but this is actually one of the Mystic Lake bald eaglet, that was about 5 months old when he got this guy. So we had this photo. We took all these other photos and we made these community awareness flyers, and we started to put them out. And we made this on a QR code so we could have it on our phone. So when we went out and we talked to anglers, we could actually show them on our phones what we were talking about. We had cards and made up, and we had flyers that were made up. And we tried to keep it as electronic as possible, so we didn't have a lot of paper out at the pond. But really, the whole idea was the more you talk with people and the more you made them aware of this problem and the fact that you could actually do something different about it made a big difference in all the world. And we got most of the expert anglers actually said to us, well, what took you so long? I had one person that said to me, we've been using this all over, all these different watersheds all over Massachusetts. What took you guys so long? And, I don't have an answer for that. It's just, when's the best time to do it? Well, maybe 20 years ago, but the second best time is we're going to do it now. So that's what we did. And so you can see what we did right on that. And then we also have folks, our anglers are really important on this, is that we actually have teams that go out, and they'll actually go out in kayaks, and we'll go right along the shoreline, and we'll we have extraction poles, we'll take things out of the trees. We have teams that will go along and pull things out of the water. This is nephew of Brian Poor. Brian's kind of teaching his nephew all the right angler techniques. You can see that this is how they collect up monofilament line, then they put it down the bins. So, you know, it's a good news story, but we're trying to get all the young folks involved, all you know, having the expert anglers help the new anglers, and just to make sure that we've got the right level of attention on the problem with the right level of action that's associated with it. So last year we ran our first Learn to Fish class. We did this with Mass Wildlife. We're doing it again on June 6th. This is the Learn to Fish. You can sign up for it on Mass Wildlife site on mass.gov. We have a little QR code, but you can see last year they actually come in with a mobile van. They bring all the fishing rods, a tent. We had about 50 people between parents and young people that attended. It's 2.5 hours, and we had our little table set up here with a bunch of things that we collected. I've got one little sample of what we've collected over here. But yeah, so we're going to do it again on June 6th, and I think that this is a good program. It's free to the community, and it really gets people engaged. And if you put this program out there and you start to run these Learn to Fish classes with Mass Wildlife, you can really emphasize the importance of the program, and you have the full support of Mass Wildlife in this as well. Actually, Mass Wildlife is looking to partner with groups like ours because they would like to roll this out in other places in other parts of the state that aren't DCR property, that have groups like ours that might want to drive this forward. So you've got a partner in Mass Wildlife if you're interested in going down this path. So again, just another one of our community awareness flyers. Same message, just a little blow up of the eagle. I will say this. I just want to add this too. So you know, you're talking about bald eagles. So bald eagles are a bird of special concern. They're part of the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program in the state. And what happens with this, especially with birds of prey, and I'll just talk just briefly on anticoagulant rodenticides. You know, it's a good thing that this eagle wasn't harmed in any way, but what we look for in something like this is if that hook comes out and we start seeing blood in the beak and that blood doesn't coagulate, then there could be a concern with that particular bald eagle or any bird of prey or anything really, coyote, foxes, any of that. So, you know, entanglements are one way. You know, it's a bad thing, but if you really pay attention to it, it's not just the entanglement, but it could be an underlying condition. I have a really an interesting story on a barred owl that we rescued out of Winchester in the end of 2022 that was wrapped in fishing line, had a big popper lure stuck in its chest, wrapped in fishing line, had a hook in its foot, and it was bleeding out. And I got that bird up to the federal permitted rehabber up in Cape Ann Wildlife. She was able to successfully rehabilitate it, save it after about a month. But it was pretty close to dying on the ground in Winchester. But again, wrapped in fishing line. So you know, that's just a problem that we see over and over and over again. All right, so now let's get to the real stuff, right? So what were the results? Because everybody wants to know how effective is this. So this is what you can see. This is a snapshot of what we took out of the pond in 2023. We put this all up into these little displays. We gave a lot of these things that we had. We'd give them back to the anglers, especially the ones that knew how to use them the right way. All the monofilament line, we box it all up, and it goes out to Berkeley Fish and Tackle. It's a free shipping out to them, and what they do with this line is they recycle it into plastic pellets that are used for manufacturing processes. Most of it goes into children's toys and patio furniture. And the braided material is not recyclable, so they incinerate it, and it's used for renewable energy sources. So we save both, and we ship both out for free out to Berkeley. But you can see what we collected, and I'm not, this is no joke, I thought it was crazy when I started calculating this out, but we did take out about 10 miles worth of monofilament line in 2023 between the bins and what our retrieval team took out of Horn Pond. 300 plastic blobbers, 325 lures, 350 hooks, those are all, you know, approximates, but they're probably a little bit on the light side, actually. But yeah, that's what came out of there. And, but again, the real big benefit was really being able to recycle the material for free. So that's my presentation on the Reel and Recycle program. And I will add, thank you. Thank you.
Can you talk about the design of the bins? It seems odd to me, the kind of
So,
the pipe with the elbow in it.
Okay. So here's the thing that people, Carin, you guys made this thing, but this guy. But anyway, all right. So the bins. So people, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I just made that from
If
the
I could-
plans from both.
If I could do it, I mean,
Yeah.
I built it in Lowe's just to see if I could do it. But, so here's the thing. People get tripped up. They think you can go out and buy this like it is, but you don't. It's in 4 pieces, and it's all off-the-shelf PVC, and there's a stopper at the bottom that you just, you know, a cap at the bottom that you screw in. This one doesn't have it, but all it is off-the-shelf stock, PVC stock, and it's white. You guys painted it. But it's white. It's just an elbow, a 2-foot length, 4-inch diameter, with an adapter at the bottom and a cap, 4 pieces. I went up to Lowe's just to price it out, because you're gonna wanna know cost, so I'll give you that. I just wanted to price it out and see what it would take. And I also wanted to see if I could build it, because if I could build it, anyone could build it, right? I could build it. And so I did it. In 10 minutes, I pulled out the stock, put it all together, and I said, wow, that's pretty easy. I took it home with some cement, and I cemented it all up. Bin number 1 was done. But then, it cost me, I don't know, it was about $80 altogether. The labels, I get them for free from Boat US. And the sign that you saw, I'll show you the sign. This is a standard sign right here. That's a standard sign out of Boat US. It costs $20. You buy it just like that. So we put together a total cost, and then we thought, well, okay, this is where our city councilor, Lou DeMambro, came in, and he said, nah, we can build it for cheaper than that. So he bought all 10-foot stock, cut it all up, and put it all together. The whole thing cost us $500 for everything. Signs, the bins, the whole 9 yards. We got a sponsor, Sam Walker's over in the east side of Woburn, on the Stoneham line, right by Montvale Ave. They sponsored it. They gave us the $500. We built all the bins. DPW put in the posts where there weren't posts, because we tried to utilize everything that we had. They put in posts where there wasn't posts, and we mounted them up, and that's how it started. Yeah, so now you got the cost too.
Jim, do you want to share how many reduced entanglements there were?
Oh, the reduced entanglements. Did I gloss over that? Boy, that's a bad one. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, okay, so here's the big one. So on average at Horn Pond, we average about 20 entanglements a year. And I thought that's no joke either. We looked at it from going back probably 3, 4, 5 years. On average, it's 20. Last year, we had 1. So we reduced it by 95%. And so right now, this year, there's 1 that we know of. It's a Canada goose that has some fishing line that's banded. And it's got a little bit of fishing line around the band. It's no mobility problem. It runs, it flies, it does everything. It's got two chicks, two goslings. So there's nothing you can really do. You can't, if you tried to rescue it, it's really difficult. So it's not bothering it at all. But that's the one that we have, and we had one last year. So we'll see what it comes out to this year. But I'm hoping it stays right around that, right around that one range. We never said that we were going to eliminate it, because you just can't. We said our goal was to reduce it. And honestly, the first year, we actually thought if we could reduce the entanglements by 25%, we'd be doing good. We got 95%. So I thought we did pretty good. So,
Another question, Jim?
yeah.
Jim, if you find an injured bird, who do you notify?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things you can do with an injured bird. Could be an injured bird, could be an injured anything, injured animal. You can contact a wildlife rehabilitator, local. You can contact, if you know of anyone who does wildlife rescue. So, for instance, I do wildlife rescue. And I'm also an associate of Cape Ann Wildlife. So I'll do wildlife rescue for them, and I also will, and they will do the rehabilitation of the bird. So a wildlife rehabilitator is always a good start to go. You can get their names off of mass.gov. There's a whole list. Every rehabilitator in the state is listed there in the database. So you can go that route.
Are animal control officers, employed by the town, are they aware of what to do?
They're aware of what to do, but usually they're going to default to the wildlife rehabilitator or someone who does rescues.
So what do you think is the solution for the rodenticide?
It's a great question. Solution to rodenticide. I wish I brought my rodenticide information with me. So the short answer is, prevention is the way to reduce rodenticide use, and exclusionary processes for homes and businesses, and for anything, cities. Exclusionary processes are the way to go, because you're not going to get rid of the rodents, and you're not going to poison your way out of a rodent problem. You're not going to poison all the rats. That's just not going to happen. And you don't want to kill all your birds of prey and your rodent-eating species, because the rodents outbreed the birds of prey and the coyotes and the foxes and everything else. They just totally outbreed them. So if you take this generalization, an owl, great horn, screech, barred owl, they consume between 1,500 and 2,000 rats a year. And a bald eagle is a fish eater, primarily eats rodents, though they're scavengers, right? They'll eat anything, right, Carin? Right. They go after everything. But really, prevention is the way to go. So if you're going to talk about rodenticides, no matter where, you should look at how do you prevent them in the first place. You're not going to get rid of them all. You're not going to kill them all. But you don't want them in your homes. So I always say start with your home. So how do you prevent them from coming in? So seal up your homes, make sure that you've got no cracks, you've got no holes in your foundation, you find out where the burrows are. You can use dry ice and burrows, and a lot of cities and towns have gone to dry ice and burrows, so they don't have to use rodenticides. But if you're going to use rodenticides, if you got to go down that route, I would suggest do not use anticoagulant rodenticides, because they're the most devastating. They are the highest risk of secondary poisoning for any of these birds and animals. And there's three types. There's brodifacoum, bromadiolone, and difethalone. Those are the three types. They're branded up in different trade names. But in 2022, because the MDR just put out this information, in 2022, there was 536,000 pounds of anticoagulant rodenticides, second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides, that were placed in Massachusetts. And you tell me if we still have a rodent problem. I always ask people that. I tell people that statistic, and they're flabbergasted. But it's true. And it's all out there. It's on the MDR. So you go on to mass.gov and you can find that information. 536,000 pounds. So my suggestion is don't use those. Use something else. You can use non-toxics. You can use dry ice is a good one. You can use vitamin D as a rodenticide, but it doesn't, snap traps, electronic traps, right? All of those smart traps, all of that. Yep.
So I don't understand why there's not an enormous effort to outlaw them. Why
So-
aren't they allowed at all?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and so we need more folks like you that want to.
It just baffles me, and we know what they do, and they're bad.
You know, there's a lot of legislation out there, and, you know, there's been bills that have gone through, the House and Senate, there's been home rule petitions that have gone through. You've got, right now, you've got the City of Newton with a home rule petition. It's S2448 that prohibits the use of second-generation anticoagulants within the City of Newton, within their borders. So that's public property, town property, and it's a home rule petition. And what they've gone is, they've gone to so they've got if you look on their website, they've got a really great rodent prevention and control website where people can, you know, they've got a good portal there and all that, but there's a lot of information on that. But they're going to dry ice and they're going to vitamin D, especially on their construction projects. They've gone to vitamin D. As far as the bills in the House and the Senate, you know, they get some traction, but they never seem to get over the goal line. So I'll put it to you that way, which to me says that we have to get more education out there. I always like to say the most powerful consumer is the informed consumer. And I didn't make that up, right? That's an old television commercial. But it's really true. And so the more that people understand what they're actually putting down at their homes, and maybe they don't even know. Most people don't know. They have no clue. But if you ask your pest company what they're actually using in their bait stations that they put around your property, you have a right to know that. And you also have a right to know what that material is actually doing to the things that actually consume the rodents. And I will tell you that about that great horned owl. That great horned owl was suffering from rodenticide poisoning. So, yeah.
Also, I really want to add that there are bait traps all over school property. This has to affect, it has to be dangerous for children that are in the schools. Also people's pets. I know people have lost their pets because of it. There are better ways. There's chemical castration. There's also, like you said, electronic electrocution.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone asks me how you'd want to die, either or, I'd rather be electrocuted than bleed to death.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean,
Well-
it sounds inhumane, but what are your options? People don't want rats in their schools, in their houses, in their
Absolutely.
businesses. But that's a scary
Yeah.
thing, to find rodenticide boxes around schools.
Yeah, and so you can, you know, that's all public information too. I mean, that's out on the MDA, the Child and Families Protection Act. That's been around, that's not new, that's been around for decades, right? Since 2000, I think November 2000, maybe. And you can find the IPM plan for every school in your city or town, and you'll see exactly what's specified for use. Yeah, and
The question is, with the reduction in the entanglements, how has the bird population, the wildlife population changed? Have you seen it?
so we have a very healthy barred owl population at Horn Pond, and we also have, so that nesting pair of eagles that's along the Mystic Lake, they're in there every day. We have great horned owls. We have a healthy population of mute swans, which I'm not necessarily a fan of mute swans, even though our logo has it. But Canada geese, all the migratory birds, we have a very healthy population. And, yeah, you do. So I like that, so I like that. But we're not having any issues with barred owls and rodent eaters getting entangled. Let's put it that way. Yep.
So with any government regulation, there has to be a balancing act between the competing interests of the businesses and many restaurants that may think they need to use this
Yeah.
and the environmental protection. So
Yeah.
From my point of view, the solution is not to ban something or prohibit it, but to give people incentives. Like we have a state legislator in the room here. Why couldn't we get legislation with the Department of Environmental Protection to bring in a mitigating force, and so they don't have to make that choice? The government can fund that.
Well, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see that,
And why not?
yeah,
You
so,
don't have to force it down there, make them do it, but give them incentives so they want to do it.
I would think that this is what I proposed to a number of folks. Every business that decides to go a non-poison route or some alternate method route, there should be an incentive for them to do that. And then, not only that, but in the long run, they're going to save money because they're going to wind up with, I'm not going to have a monthly bill to have to do this. I'm going to be able to, whatever I'm going to do to my business, however I'm going to shore it up, whatever I'm going to do to it, they should be incentivized for that. And I'll tell you another thing that I'd like to see is there should be more funding available for cities and towns that really want to go down either a pilot approach to an alternate method to anticoagulant or rodenticides. I think that should be incentivized on the city and town level. There should be more money that's available. It should be easier. Right now, I don't think it's easy. If you go out looking for grant money to do this, I'm not so sure that you're going to find it. So, just think if you had grant money, you could use, so there's a smart box technology that is electronic with wireless monitoring. So you can monitor all of your rodent activity. And you can move these boxes around to wherever you want to do it. It's all electronic. And they actually will store up to 10 rats or mice inside the box. They bag and tag them. I call it that. But that's what they do. They're expensive. But if there was grant money that was available to actually fund cities and towns to bring those in, to reduce your exposure to anticoagulants, I think would be far better off.
Huge thank you to James and Carin for those really informative presentations. I have followed them. I pretend that I semi-stalk them because I'm always trying to learn more on their Facebook pages and things, but even at this presentation I learned so much, so thank you both. One thing that we are doing this summer, it's a new event that we're trying out, so please tell your family and friends. We are having Mass Wildlife come and do a Learn to Fish presentation. It'll be the July 11th Movies by the Lake night. So for those 2 hours that people are hanging out before the movie actually begins with their kids, looking for something to do, this will be an event you can sign up for ahead of time. It's 2 hours, it's completely free. They bring all of the equipment and they teach you how to fish and also how to dispose of things properly.
Will
and
adults need to be licensed?
What's that?
Will adults need fishing license?
Not for the event, no. Yeah, thank you, as I look to Jim. So yes, please let your children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews know that July 11th, Movies by the Lake will be having a Learn to Fish event. And we'll be putting that out probably in the next couple weeks. It is a sign-up thing, so you have to sign up ahead of time, but be on the lookout for that. Is there anything else we needed
Well,
to?
just collaboration with WCAT.
Oh yes, huge thanks to WCAT for filming this all tonight. So and thank you all for being here, for participating, great questions. Hopefully you've met some new people or seen some people that you knew before, but we all really appreciate the support and coming out tonight. And yeah, stay for another drink, and that's it. Have a great night. Thank you all.